What? I got 141 and 2/3 chance of winning at Sacrifice. Woo!
Wrestling Podcast. Let's go, witness. He is broken in half.
And you are just a buck-toothed netho baby who ate dog food for a weird old man.
Yeah.
Just when they think they got the answers, I change the questions.
Did he do it? Cover!
Oh, and a kick out.
Unbelievable.
I will never retire.
I'm too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am the Macho King Randy Savage.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty.
It's me, Austin. Whoa!
Bang! Jacob 5'2" is all gas. No brakes with it. Yada mean fire!
I said WWE stands for
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Hey, look, are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling game? You gotta stop. Stop right now. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available absolutely free. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline PLEs, even build your own corporation from the ground up, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now, totally free, app.wrestlerunstoppable.com. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like John and Emily, then you got to pop over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. We got a loyalty rewards program. $15 a month contributor, you get to co-host a show with me. $7.50 a month, you also get entered into a drawing to host with myself. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, something you want me to touch on in the future episode, call me. Let me know. Pro Wrestling Sound Offline, 267-642-1160. Give us those questions and comments, and we will get to those in a future episode. Tonight, jumping into a various tidbits and things around the wrestling world. Got to start with one that I find to be very exciting. For those who are really diehards of the professional wrestling, it really doesn't matter what company it is. WWE, AEW, TNA, MLW, GCW, AAA, CMLL, New Japan, you name it, Progress, WXW, all these places you would tune into because you just want unlimited wrestling content. The problem is, some of the best wrestling in the world we don't have readily available to us unless you're, getting things well after they happen on YouTube or something like that. And that can be frustrating. Heck, I'm one of those guys. I still go back and watch old wrestling shows from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s on YouTube and stuff like that. So I can't get enough wrestling content. But some of the greatest wrestling happening right now in the world is in MLW. And for an extended period of time, MLW used to broadcast a show called Fusion. And then in 2023, it went away. They had broadcasting distribution deals, and they were doing a weekly television program, and it was really great stuff, and it went away. They were kind of going away from that format and whatnot. And now, for the last 3 years or so, you've kind of got all your MLW from YouTube, from big events that they would put on, I believe, Triller TV and things like that. Not a lot of television exposure because they didn't put on a regular program, only specials. Now, word is MLW is going to be bringing back Fusion. They started flirting with the idea in 2025. Now they're talking about bringing it back. Again, in the past was with Triller, and there's all these online streaming platforms, whether it's a Netflix, a Amazon Prime Video, whether it's a Pluto TV or whatever, Fight Network, all these different places, there has to be a broadcasting partner out there who would love to have MLW. And for me, as a huge fan of wrestling in general, I'm dying to see more of their product. I'm tired of having to go to YouTube to watch. I'm not a big YouTube guy, which, for the record, anybody who wants to get around all the advertisements you get inundated with on YouTube, pop over to Brave, which is an app you can download, go to YouTube, and don't have to watch all the commercials. But that being said, MLW reviving this show brings another quality product to the mainstream potentially if they get a great broadcasting partner. That is something I can't wait to see. And before I get off MLW too much, I got to point out one other thing about MLW this week that I find incredibly interesting, which is Karrion, Kross and Scarlett commenting on the latest round of releases from WWE. And Kross is now the MLW World Champion. He's doing very well for himself on the independent scene. One more reason I want to see MLW programming is to see Kross and see Scarlett, because they are an act that WWE totally dropped the ball on. And the reality is, when he looks at these releases, he really likens it to what UFC has done in the past, which TKO, the parent company of both brands, where they get these top echelon people, and they only the top of the food chain get paid when they get over organically. The people further down the card, they will cycle through and bring in cheaper talent. And that's, if you look at the UFC right now, it's kind of a watered down UFC in a way. The talent level isn't what it once was because they don't want to pay their fighters. When you have talent that can go elsewhere and get one boxing fight for $15 million, and you're talking about low-level guys in UFC getting paid $10,000, $12,000 a pop, and that's it, it makes a lot of sense that UFC makes all the money they make because they don't pay anybody anything. That's why people like Ronda and Ngannou and people like that are doing these outside things with MVP and other promotions and going into other boxing organizations because they want to get paid fair market value. That being said, Karrion Kross making it very clear he feels as though executives at TKO do not want people to get over organically. When they do, they want to control everything. They want to control the narrative. They want to control the character. They want to control the creative. They want to control the fans, basically. And when you get over on your own, that's a problem for them. Unless you are a Cody, a Roman, a Seth, a Punk, somebody like that, you're not going to get to eat at that level. No matter how much you get over, that you are expendable. Nobody is safe. Look at the New Day. Look at people like Zelina Vega and Aleister Black, who were literally, Aleister Black was in conversation to be in the main event scene with Cody and Randy right before Mania. Now he's gone. You can't get over. You cannot get over on your own. It just doesn't work. And if they don't see enough value in you when they've got cheaper replacements coming up from NXT, and this is not to knock NXT. I love NXT. And I love all the talent on NXT. They're doing a great job of cultivating great talent. But where is the veteran presence, the guys who, look, when they're not doing the touring like they used to, you need some veterans out there who have more matches under their belt to really provide great matches for your company. And that's something we're seeing less and less of in WWE, seeing more things like, I saw people really raining down the hate on Sol Ruco when she, flubbed up her Soul Snatcher the first time in the ring with Becky Lynch. Well, they happen to everybody. Every superstar has botched moments, but I think they're more common when you have people who don't get the opportunity to get as many reps in anymore because they don't tour like they used to. They don't go to the smaller towns like they used to anymore. They're not on the road 350 days a year, and I'm not advocating for them to go back to that. I did see, and I forget who it was, I apologize, maybe it was Kevin Nash, I believe it was Kevin Nash, saying how he believes they need to unionize. And I don't necessarily disagree. He was talking about how back in the day you were on the road 5, 6, 7 days a week, and so the pay structure was slightly different then. And now you're on the road, you're getting far less matches. They want to pay you less, but they're making so much more money. When you look at it and compare it to other sporting events, there's always conversation in the different unions about the percentage share between the players who put on the performance and what they make versus what the owners and everybody else makes. And WWE is one of the lowest in all of professional organized sports entertainment. So they clearly need to be putting more money into their talent. Yeah, that's why people go to Tony Khan. He pays his talent, even if he's not going to use you. He doesn't usually cut very many people. He'll let contracts run out, let them sit at home, and still pay them. So this is a situation that I find it fascinating, especially somebody like Kevin Nash, who has a Legends deal, and he advocating for a union could be very complex. That's something WWE has always thought was like a bad thing to do. But at this point, what else are you supposed to do? And I did think it was interesting this week, Dana White was interviewed and spoke about the fact that he thinks if the fighters want a union, go make a union. It's not up to him. He certainly didn't discourage the idea, and that would help with the pay situation. But again, WWE, and I saw, I forget who it was. Oh my goodness, I'm feel horrible. I can't remember his name now. Former presidential candidate who's a huge wrestling fan, who basically said this week, he's like, they have a scripted program, every episodic television every week. They should be a member of the Screen Actors Guild. I don't disagree. I think that'd be phenomenal. The problem is there isn't a fair, equitable way to do pro wrestling because you may not get over with the fans, and they can't be putting the same money into you that Roman Reigns gets. So there has to be a tiering structure, a hierarchy of how people get paid. But Hollywood has that. It's not like you walk in and do like a pilot episode for a television show and get paid $10 million an episode. It doesn't work that way. There is a structure there, and there is one that WWE could use and other wrestling organizations could use to put something together. So, again, something we'll have to keep an eye on. Stephanie Vacquer in the news. Apparently her status, we reported a couple weeks ago on this podcast after WrestleMania, she was injured. They thought she was going to be out for 6, 8, maybe even longer weeks. Might miss SummerSlam. Now they're saying her return is imminent. That Creative is already working on return plans for her. She's getting back much faster. She was already banged up from an ankle injury earlier in the year. This one was an AC joint sprain. And now it looks like she is on the verge of coming back, which is going to be fantastic. They need to get something going on in that Raw Women's Championship picture, because right now the Raw Women's side of thing is dead. SmackDown looks great. Raw looks dead. So Vacquer coming back is great if they push her correctly. I feel like she was the longest transitional champion in the history of the company because she held that championship for an extended period of time, and it never felt like there was a big star to take the championship from her. And if there was, they certainly didn't push her that way. You never saw a Becky want to challenge for the World Championship. How could Becky Lynch not be going for the World Championship when Stephanie Vacquer is the champion? Didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I hope if she comes back, they really push her correctly and really elevate that Raw Championship. On the flip side of things, the SmackDown brand, crowd reactions to Fatal Influence are now shifting creative. That is the word that's out there, is that the crowd reaction to Fatal Influence has been so positive with the match with Rhea, the match with Charlotte, the six-woman match this past week. Like, it is really affecting creative. And that people now, WrestleVotes Radio and Fightful Select, both talking about how Fatal Influence have started to change the quality of their performances. The crowd reactions every week are really, really huge, and that now creative is looking to make them more prominent on the shows. And does that mean JC Jane is going to be the next one to challenge Rhea Ripley? Will she dethrone Rhea Ripley if she's getting over that well? Perhaps, possibly. I don't have a problem with that, to be perfectly honest with you. If they're doing a great job, go for it. I think that's phenomenal. Good for them. It's really a testament to what they're doing in NXT, that they could bring 3 talent to the main roster who get over that fast. Watch them not get paid now if they get over too much. I'm just saying, after what we were just talking about. But love it for them. Love that they're getting the exposure. And I love that the fans are reacting in such a positive way to their ascension, which is just phenomenal stuff. The John Cena Classic, that's another thing in the news. It is being reported that it is still a work in progress. There is some hypotheticals out there. WrestleVotes Radio, Fightful Select also reporting that it's a work in progress. Nothing's been nailed down. That they may put it on the calendar closer to December, right around the 1-year anniversary of John Cena's retirement match. They don't know. Netflix apparently is interested in hosting the Classic, but they don't know what the heck the thing's going to look like yet, or how it's going to go together, what it's going to feel like, what the presentation is. Is it a tournament? How does it work? How do the fans get involved? So we'll have to wait and see what that is. But to me, this has been a train wreck since this was an announcement. I feel like John Cena was going to do an announcement, something to do with the membership tiers for this new Wrestling Fanatics thing they're doing, VIP thing. And instead, they didn't have that fully figured out, so they threw this announcement out there knowing probably that it wasn't going to hit until December or whatever. Now they could kind of put pause on that, and they got John Cena to appear, pop ticket sales for the last pay-per-view at Backlash, and now they can take their time to figure out what the heck they want to do with it. But you kind of teased everybody with this, and you have nothing to back it up with. It's kind of frustrating. Just saying. That's my perception of it, and I think that's something WWE needs to think about creatively before they make an announcement like that. Don't bring John Cena in if you're just doing it to pop ticket sales, and then you're going to leave us with less than, what we expected. And I think they throwing this John Cena thing out there, great. You got Cena, you got a few extra tickets probably sold, and now people are frustrated, so there's no follow-through, so they just kind of turn the page on it. And that's a problem. You want people to still be talking about what you do. So, I don't know. Let's talk about one last thing tonight. Ronda Rousey in the news. She's talking about a high-profile angle that she pitched to creative, to Vince McMahon specifically. She even cited that she put together an entire proposal of some way and printed out like this proposal and gave it to Vince McMahon. She did an interview with Sports Illustrated where after her match with Becky and Charlotte at WrestleMania, she wanted to have a one-on-one program with Becky, and she had this whole thing mapped out for a year's worth of conversation, and Vince was on board. But then she went away, she had her child, and when she came back, it was like, oh, we talked about this a year ago, and they just never did anything with it. And I think a lot of people really expected to see that at WrestleMania. Again, they wanted to see the match. She was booked so horribly in her second return, or in her return, I should say, to WWE, that it really just floundered, and that was the big thing she was coming back for, was to do that program with Becky. So when people get upset at Ronda for having ill will towards WWE, it's more directed at Vince McMahon for not following through on what he promised her, being on board with it, all this, it's a great idea, yeah, this is great, and then when she comes back from her baby, just turning the page on, acting like nothing ever happened. She ends up coming back. She works with Shayna Baszler for her last match, programs with Charlotte, with Liv Morgan, and stuff like that, but never getting that chance to have that program with Becky Lynch, which was the sole reason she came back in the first place. So it's really frustrating that who knows how things could have gone differently had they just done what they had basically committed to and then pulled out of. I don't know, one of those what ifs. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. Run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always to Suno for creating the sound effects and music we use in our show. Today's show is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with the game Sketchy People. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, maybe you're considering a college, university. Maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision. Go to our website at frolifeplanning.com. Book a free appointment consultation for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking some time with us. Until next time, take care. Have a good night.
Wrestling Podcast.